Chris, you want to look back before you look forward to non-conference and just the whole, summation of those 13 games?
Well, I thought we played well. I thought we played a very good schedule, and so pleased with our record. Obviously, we'd rather not have dropped the most recent games, but thought we played well for a long time there. Our offensive numbers were really off the charts, and our defensive numbers were very good. So I think our offensive numbers have come back down to the very good range, with possibility of continuing to be very good and improve again. So I thought we've improved in the areas we've tried to. Our toughness, our defense, our rebounding, and hopefully it can propel us to have a good conference season.
Did you notice at times in the last couple of games, especially when the shooting was not there, that it translated on the defensive end where they had some struggles as well?
Yeah, to a certain extent. I mean, I think that's such a big part of the game now. The teams, who St. Joe's and Alabama are our two most recent opponents. They shoot way more threes than we do, and it's such a big part of the game, your three-point shooting. And the key is not to try not to let it affect the rest of the game, and that's a hard thing. That's kind of probably a newer phenomenon because it's so critical to everybody's performance and the outcome that you want to try to keep it isolated on the shooting. But yeah, I think everybody has that, and hopefully we can get better at it and just continue to do the basics as well as we possibly can.
Coach Mooney, you're on the cusp of having 4 guys who are 1,000-point scorers in college. Can you share your thoughts on that and if it's meaningful or not meaningful?
Yeah, how close are we?
Maybe
14
30.
for Blake, 36 for Nick.
Wow, how about that? Yeah, that is pretty meaningful. To have 4 guys who all be juniors is I would think pretty rare and unique, and a credit to those guys because just to get a college scholarship Division I, but then also be successful takes a lot of hard work, over and above your natural ability. So, and I think it is good. It has guys on the floor. It speaks to their experience and their abilities to score and put pressure on the defense. And if you can have multiple guys, that's impressive.
Hey, along the same lines, could you say a word or two about Jacob Gilliard as he gets closer to this steals record career?
Yeah, well, I mean, so many of the steals that he makes are really hard to even describe, or you have to run it back on the tape to see it because you had no anticipation of it. I think since the day he got here, I think when I saw him playing in his high school game, he had 11 steals in the game, and so I'm sure Beck will be brokenhearted, but no, that's a tremendous achievement. To have any record at Richmond playing basketball for over 100 years, to have any school record, let alone as a junior, is it's hard to even fathom.
To piggyback on the scores, when Blake first arrived, I think we touched on it, I think, at Hampton. Was there any concern about 4 guys who could really score with only one basketball? And how pleased are you with the guys kind of adjusting to the roles where they have been able to kind of handle, one guy maybe taking 20 shots here, another guy maybe taking 15, 20 shots another game?
Well, yeah, I think number one, you'd like to have as many good players and scorers as you can, and I think that they're aggressive players, and I would say our offensive numbers are generally pretty good, but I think even better this year because of that aggressiveness. So it's easier to make a pass or make a decision or be a playmaker when you're trying to score because that energy and that aggressiveness draws the defense to you. And so I think at our best, we've had guys who are trying to score but are good enough players to make the right decision. And I think that will hold true, and generally our offensive numbers improve during the course of the season. I think that will show this year also. A great stat from the other day is Grant took 17 shots, and we're really trying to take advantage of our strength, and I think that's great. And that goes to guys understanding what we're trying to do, throwing the ball to Grant knowing to throw it out in case he's double teamed. So, I think that's a good thing to have. And you are going to have some guys who are, whether they're feeling hot that night or have a great matchup or extra aggressive, that is going to happen. Everybody has to understand, that's a single game or that's how it works out and play from there.
Right off the bat, Thursday-Sunday combo, maybe a little bit more comfortable with this group than you have been previous couple of years. Just mentally, physically, whatever?
Yeah, for sure. And it's Sundays at noon, so everything's a challenge whenever travel's introduced, everything's a challenge, and so. But yeah, we feel like again, we feel like we're a good. The hiccups that you have with a younger team that could show up at any time. There are just generally less of those when you have a more experienced team, and I think we're anxious to get back out on the floor and play. Certainly anxious to get back here and play at the Robins Center.
Scouting report on Ryan Daly, and is he different than what you saw 2 years ago, and why he's such a challenge?
Well, he's really a great player. I mean, he has incredible confidence. So that is one thing. He can shoot and make shots from anywhere. He has to be one of the few guys who leads a team in offensive rebounds and assists, as well as every other category. But he just has limitless confidence. He had 32 against Villanova, being guarded by some of the best defenders in the country. And he can just do everything. It appears a little bit different because he's not as athletic or fast, but the result is the same as that of a great player who's a great scorer.
How different does St. Joe's look with no Phil Martell?
Yeah, that does look different for sure. And I think they've shot a ton of threes. 50% of their shots are threes, and they have 3 wins, but they're trailed Villanova by 3 with 2 minutes to go. They beat UConn on the road, so I think they're dangerous, and I think the 3-point line has proven to help them, be even more dangerous this early.
So, Coach, getting back home, you're 7-0 in this building. How important is a win to open up conference play for your guys' confidence, as well as how they feed off energy at home?
Yeah, well, playing at home is just such a gigantic advantage, and it comes up every time. St. Joe's and Villanova are playing. It's a 2 or 3-point game with 2.5 minutes to go. The game's at St. Joe's, and I think the non-league schedules and results get skewed a little bit because so many of the Power 5 teams have such a vast majority of their games at home, and so for us it's no different, and we want to make sure that we come out and play well. We've had tremendous support here, had great energy in the building, and hopefully we can capitalize that being our first conference game.
Jake, upon reflection, a 10-3 non-conference record hits you how?
I think we didn't really close it out the way we wanted to, but I think coming into the season we all were kind of set on only losing 2 or 3 games. So I think we're kind of happy with how we did it. Just kind of disappointed with how it turned out.
How about what you got coming up here is a Thursday-Sunday deal, and I'm sure in past years this would have felt a lot different than it does this year, maybe because of the experience and the strength and the conditioning that you guys have as juniors that you didn't have previously. How might this first 2 game set go for you guys physically in the mountain?
I think mentally we're all kind of locked in. It's the start of conference play, so I think everybody's mind changes a little bit, and I think people start to lock in just a little bit more. So I definitely think that's kind of our mentality. But I think physically, you got the little break. We've got a couple days off here, and so I think our bodies are going to be pretty good coming into this, the early stretch of conference play. Wear and tear doesn't happen until usually a little bit later.
You mentioned you guys didn't finish the way you have hoped you wanted to non-conference. What was talked about amongst the guys about what took place in Alabama and kind of changing it when you start conference play tomorrow night?
I think we competed. I think we didn't really play hard enough. I think our defense was pretty poor that game, especially for a team like Alabama. I don't think really defensively they're really good. We didn't shoot the ball well, but I feel like we can't really rely on just us shooting the ball well every game to win. So I think we kind of talked about that. I think we just need to have a more serious approach and just get better on defense and try and get better every day.
Hey,
How about
you're closing in on the steals record, career record. Does that mean a great deal or anything to you at this point?
I'd probably downplay it. I'm sure looking back on it in a couple of years or whenever I decide to look back on it, I'll be really impressed. But right now I'm just really worried about winning games.
And along the same lines, you guys are close to having 4,000-point scorers probably the next couple of weeks. What does that mean? Does it mean anything?
It means we have some good scores. We have some good teammates. Obviously, we can put the ball in the hole, but 4 individuals doesn't make a really good team. You need everybody to be bought into the whole team deal. So it's kind of what that is.
That said, can you put your finger on why the shooting hasn't been as good? And that happens during the course of a year, I know, but can you put your finger on why in the last 3 games it hasn't happened?
I mean, I think, you just go through little slumps, little stretches here where you don't shoot the ball well. But I think we were shooting out of our mind early. I think we kind of just became like almost saying that was natural, like for me to be shooting 50, Nick to be shooting 50, Blake to be shooting 50. And realistically, I mean, that's just not where it is. So you're going to go through stretches where you make shots, where you don't make shots. It's just a game. But we're just trying to focus on St. Joe's, make shots there.
How much have you eyeballed the Atlantic 10 and what the rest of these teams have done in non-conference play and what that challenge brings starting with Thursday night?
Everything changes. Obviously, we all kind of watch college basketball. I watch a good amount, make sure I look in the A10. But, a lot of teams play teams that we don't know too much about or that we might say is not very good or really good. So, I mean, we don't know too much. We don't know. Basketball's a game of matchups. Basketball's a game of matchups, so you can't really tell too much about it.
What do you remember about Ryan Daly and why he had the game he had here with a different team 2 years ago, and what makes his game so challenging?
He doesn't really look the part. I think that kind of throws people off right away. But he's relentless. He has a confidence about himself that he's better than everybody else on the court, and he plays that way. He plays really good. He's a good player. His usage rate is pretty high. The ball's in his hands a lot. He's making the right plays. So he's really good. We got to be locked in for him with St. Joe's. But the Delaware game, he had a big step back on us, kind of iced it. It's kind of what I remember about him that game.
Trying to go back to the shooting real quick. Do you think at times when you guys were struggling shooting the basketball the last 2 games, it kind of went over into the defensive end?
Yeah, I think we let it affect everything, honestly. I think it kind of took us out of our offense. The defensive end wasn't great, and I kind of think we just allowed it to play too big of a role. When you're making shots, you got to find the rest of your identity. You got to be relying on something else, and I just don't think we did.
As you head into conference play, do you have in mind as a team sort of the general formula for success?
I don't think there's a formula for success. I think we know what we have to do, I guess, if that makes sense. We have to come out and compete every game. It doesn't matter if it's St. Joe's or if it's VCU. It's going to be a good game no matter what. The other team's always really good in the A10, and so we just have to come out ready to compete.
What makes you so good in regards to taking away the basketball? As far as stealing the basketball?
So I think we've talked about this before, Vita. I like to say it's the IQ. I always feel like I'm pretty much the smartest player on the court at all times. And so I kind of just start to anticipate. I have a feel for it. I see, they run plays multiple times. So you start to see them, and you start to see where you can take your chances here and there, and then it just works out for me.
I remember that Charleston game. I think it was 2 possessions they had it. They needed guys steal. I was just, trying to figure out, the IQ or just attention to detail, looking at film, seeing tendencies that the opponents would do in order for you to do that.
Exactly. Just seeing what they do. I mean, obviously you kind of know certain players. Obviously, if you get a player that might not be so confident at the time, he's probably going to be looking to pass, get it out of his hands really quick. And I feel like teams started understand that I try to steal the ball a lot. So I think it makes them a little more nervous, and I try to take advantage of it.